In a world where truth hides in the shadows, faith still shines through. Where the seen and unseen collide, when everyone else is of the world, we are the Not of This World podcast.
Today, our episode is going to be about health and kind of what we're seeing in society and where our own country has gone with health. And to me, it's a really personal issue because I guess growing up in my life, I struggled with weight.
A chicken!
When you get a chicken like this, there's bits on it that are worth lots of money. The breasts are the most expensive part. It's the biggest and it's the white meat, okay? And that is a chicken breast, okay? Now, chicken wings are worth quite a lot of money. I showed them where all the nice cuts of meat came off the chicken. So we just pop the legs off and then you're left with a carcass with all the ribs and the little bits of giblets and blood and skin and stuff like that. What do you think happens to this?
It gets thrown away.
You want to eat some? You want to eat some? Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little story about how you can use all the leftover bits to make food. And watch me. Some of the processed foods that you love are made from the bits you don't like. Bone, all the connective tissues, little bits of bone marrow and stuff like that. They even add chicken skin. Put a load of chicken skin in here as well. Okay, so then once they've done that, pour the wound up meat and bone and skin and like bits of horrible bits, and they put it into a massive great machine that squeezes all the soft stuff away from the gangly hard stuff. Look at it.
Ooh, it's all going through. It's really awesome.
What's the good meat? That or that?
That.
And what kind of meat is that?
The horrible.
Okay, so because this has got loads of connective tissue and things that really aren't meat, to be honest, you've got to put loads of stuff in it. Stabilise it with stabiliser, you know, flavouring in there to make it taste of something nice instead of something horrible. Once they've done that, they mix it all up and make this big load of gunk. And then guess what we can do?
What?
We can get a cutter and cut out our very own patty. Just like that. Put some breadcrumbs on it. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen, our very own patty. And all we do is whack them in a pan. Lovely. Now, who would still eat this?
Hey everyone, welcome to Not of This World podcast. I'm your host Josh, and we've got my buddy Steve here.
This is me, Steve.
Didn't work. There it is. We just learned this as we're warming up here on Zoom, but we must be new features added in. Anyways, yeah. So Steve and I we're now a few months into making this podcast, and I just kind of wanted to let everyone know as we start this today what we're doing here, because we don't really reiterate that a lot, but Steve and I are both friends. We've been friends for 25 years. We met each other in the Marine Corps, and we both grew up believing in God, but we were never really close in our walk with God. And in the last couple of years, both of us have really felt called to Him and have begun our walks in a lot stronger, more pulled way. And I just want to reiterate, like, we are not experts on anything we talk about here. The intention that we had for making this show was, we feel like there's probably a lot of fairly new Christians out there, or people who are maybe, you know, just learning a little bit about a God or don't know anything at all. And we just wanted to kind of talk over issues of the world that we see going on and to give our opinions and kind of track how it goes as we grow in our walks with the Lord, as we grow closer to the Lord. And we wanted to give something that people could could watch and maybe relate to, because maybe they're in similar places where they're at. So again, I just want to say we are not experts in any of this. This is us talking. This is us just trying to get together and have a little bit of fellowship each week and hoping that maybe it helps someone out there. And with that being said, we would truly appreciate likes, subscribes, comments, any of it, just because that's the only way we can get out in front of more people. When people don't like or subscribe, it just sits there, and that's fine too. But I just had to say that. But we're having fun doing this, and I think it's been great for us personally, and I do hope that it is helping someone out there.
I agree. I think that I think for me also the goal was to have people who don't have fellowship the way we do, to find if we're doing this as whenever we get to do it, they get an opportunity to be around two people who are learning the same way that you just described, and knowing that we don't know everything and we're learning on the. But I feel like we've learned so much over the last few years compared to where we were at, like just even 4 years ago when we started talking about this stuff. We had questions that we have answers to now pretty fast, but we're not preachers, we're not Bible scholars, so just got to give us a little bit of grace.
I'm learning every day, and the one
Right.
thing, one major thing that I'm learning is just how much you grow and how much things actually change in your faith and in the way you see God, the way you connect to God, how you start to implement the word, the Bible, into your daily life, and you start to see things and correlate it to the Bible, like, oh, wait a minute, that's the only truth. So what I'm seeing isn't truth. What I'm walking towards is not truth, and it's a great guide for your life. And the further you go and stay with God on a day-to-day basis, the more you grow. And I think it's amazing.
Well, I mean, it's like when you take the opportunity to stop and listen to when God's not like you. I don't hear an audible voice from God, but He works through other Christians in my life or other people. And like, not to make this about me because this episode's not about this, but I'm going screen free for 60 days. And I just remember waking up that morning and everything is off still. Like I was having kind of like, I always have a bad day starting off because the news is always bad. And I'm looking for it and I'm preparing for it. And I watch a video and it's like basically this woman saying, check out Appalachian Homesteader. And then Josh had sent me a video and then all these things just started compiling. And I'm like, this has to be from God. And then I like prayed about it and I'm like, it felt right. It felt like God's telling me like, dude, I need you for different things. Like you don't need to be sucked into this. So it's awesome.
Yeah. And and it's amazing. He connects with people differently, through different signs that you see, or like you said, like there's 3-4 things coming at you about this. That must mean that's what God wants. And for me, I'm learning, that silence is where I truly can hear him. And I don't mean audibly, but just actually taking the time to sit and think about things and issues in my life. And that's where I get that response from inside. And that's the Holy Spirit guiding and leading the direction that we're meant to go.
Yeah. If you're listening to us right now, leave it in the comments right now. How do you hear God when He speaks to you? Like we'd like to hear from everyone else. Like where do you have the moments where you're like, I felt God moving through something? Let us know.
Yeah, it's interesting because everyone has different ways, God has different ways with everyone. But yeah, so back to the whole purpose of this podcast, we had talked about like, should we stand on a corner and evangelize, and try talking to people? And it's like, well, that's a great option, but with the internet, you have the capability of reaching so many more people in a short amount of time. And that's where we decided to go this route. But with all of that said, today, our episode is going to be about health and kind of what we're seeing in society and where our own country has gone with health. And to me, it's a really personal issue because I guess growing up in my life, I struggled with weight. I wasn't like morbidly obese. I wasn't massively obese, but I was never comfortable or happy in my body. And as I've gotten older, I'm still not perfect in any way. I'm still learning as I go, but I'm finding out that the system is rigged against us. And I didn't understand that. I was trusting as a, as a young adult. I'm reading how to be healthy, and it's telling me I need to eat all these carbs and low fat and whatever. And I'm trying to follow this, and I'm watching other people who have, have six pack and are in perfect shape, and they're just not following any of it. And it's just like, this is so unfair. But as I've gotten older and I've learned more, and I'm starting to understand how it all goes and how that relates to God and Christianity, it's become a big topic in my life.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear what you have for us for the Bible quote of the day.
Yeah. So there's you might be surprised, kind of, but first one I've got is 1 Corinthians 6:19 and 20. Or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit? You are not your own, for you were bought with a price. So glorify God in your body. That's the first one I have. The next one is Proverbs 23:20 and 21. Do not join those who drink too much wine or gorge themselves on meat, for drunkards and gluttons become poor. I've actually got four today. So the next one I have is Jeremiah 30:17. But I will restore you to health and heal your wounds, declares the Lord. And finally, the last one I have is 1 John 5:19. We know that we are children of God and that the whole world is under the control of the evil one. And I just wanted to throw that in there because it seems like every topic that we discuss and we start to see where we're at in the world with it, we have to go back to the Bible and look at the fact that the evil one controls the world. So when we wonder why things are a certain way, why this system is rigged against us, why people are doing these things to harm others, we have to go back to that. The world is controlled by the evil one, and we live in it. And it's our job as Christians to be lights inside of this evil world, to not partake or fall for it or be deceived by what the evil one is doing, but to stand up and follow what the Bible says.
Gotcha. That's very cool. I know the way this all started was it you that brought it up in our Bible study when someone said if you pray over your food, it actually changes the structure of your food.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
I
that was you
watched
that brought it up?
something on that a while back, and that blew my mind.
I think that's how this all got started because I was like, is that like, and someone found the article and sent it to everybody, and I'm like, this is crazy. And it just got my brain thinking about all this stuff, and I'm like, I think you mentioned we should do an episode on this, so.
Well, it's so cool. I mean, you sent me one the other day, Taylor Welch, and listening to it, he was talking about like the science behind prayer in general and how prayer is really addictive because there was a study done a while back with monkeys and giving them food and as a reward system. And when you don't give it, you don't give it, you don't give it, and then you give it, they have massive drops of oxytocin in their system. So it's like a huge reward rather than just giving.
Yeah.
And relating that to prayer, we don't feel the presence of God every time we pray. And I don't know if that's he makes it that way or just we aren't fully able to get into the spirit when we're praying sometimes because our mind's in different directions or whatever. But that reward system. And so relating that to the food and with praying over your food, every single thing in our life, God created us absolutely perfect for how he wants it to work. And so what Steve was saying with the praying over food is they did a study with water and they were looking at the molecular structure of the water. And if you speak evil over the water, the molecular structure actually starts to break down. So if you are sitting there, I hate you, you're terrible, you're disgusting, you're flavorless, the water's molecular structure actually breaks down. But on the opposite side of it, if you speak love into that water and loving words, this is beautiful. Oh man, this is hydrating me. This is great. It actually, gets to its perfect form. And that's what we need for our health. So to putting that into prayer, when you pray over your food, when you are blessing your food, you are putting it into its structure the way it was created to be, and that's what nourishes our body. And to me, what a really interesting thing to think about is you've heard all your life people say like, well, that was made with love, and food tastes better that's made with love. But it never made sense to me my whole life, like it was made with love, like what? but when you really think about it, if you have a mom in the kitchen like stirring the food and you know, focusing on having a great dinner with the family, there is loving intentions going into that food, and that puts it into its correct molecular structure, which is going to nourish our body and make that food better.
I love to cook, so I definitely know that what you're saying. Like there's nothing more fun than for me to like cook for a bunch of people that I love and like give them what I just worked so hard on, and then be like, it's instant gratification, but it is meant with love for sure. So
yeah. And then also, you've worked in restaurants. I've worked in restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
There is a big difference. If you have employees who are like negative and whatever, and they're not enjoying themselves or having a good time at work, it's when if you start to notice, that's when random complaints start coming in.
Yeah.
And people don't seem to enjoy what you're giving them as much as when you've got a great crew, everyone's happy, joking around, having a good time at work. And that's when everything just flows at the restaurant and customers are happy. And there's so much to it. It's pretty cool.
It is cool.
So yeah, we've got a video we're going to show you. It's it's about 7 minutes long, I think. But it's an important video because it's going to give us some information on kind of where the state of this world is on food in America. And that's going to kind of lead into everything else that we have today. So do you want to go ahead and start that video, Steve?
You got it, dude.
Foods are even more addictive than drugs, alcohol, or cigarettes. Well, it's not exactly a coincidence. Packaged snacks have always been hard to put down. Oreos were invented as far back as 1912, and snacks like Snickers and Fritos date back to the 1930s. But obesity in the US didn't start causing alarm until the late 70s, and rates really started to spike between 1980 and 2008. So what happened here? Big tobacco had something to do with it. It all started around 1953 when more and more studies came out pointing to the negative health effects of smoking. Big tobacco was, for obvious reasons, stressed about how this could impact their business. So they started looking to diversify their portfolios. And in 1963, R.J. Reynolds, the makers of Camel, Newport, and Pall Mall cigarettes, purchased Hawaiian Punch. It just so happens that it purchased the fruit juice right before the first Surgeon General's report came out in 1964. And this was the report that marked one of the first major shifts in Americans' public opinion of smoking. Previously, Hawaiian Punch had been marketed as a cocktail mixer for adults, but R.J. Reynolds pivoted to market the sugary beverage to kids. They utilized the drink's colorful mascot, Punchy, to appeal to young children, a strategy they would later use with Joe the Camel to sell cigarettes, before being banned from doing so. And tobacco executives were well aware of the importance of building brand loyalty at an early age. When they did this by marketing flavored cigarettes to minors, it was a way of constantly generating new replacement smokers, or customers. But perhaps even more disturbing was the way R.J. Reynolds tampered with Hawaiian Punch's formula. See, the company had decades of experience of creating flavoring additives for cigarettes and chewing tobacco, so it applied these lessons to make Hawaiian Punch's flavors extra enticing. In fact, under R.J. Reynolds' leadership, Hawaiian Punch went from offering a mere 2 flavors to a whopping 16. The company's manager of biochemical research at the time wrote an internal memo stating that R.J. Reynolds was in the flavor business, and that the flavors they developed for cigarettes would be useful in food, beverage, and other products, leading to large financial returns. A 1985 company report wrote that the goal in the development of these products was to, quote, leave people wanting more. And this was just the beginning. R.J. Reynolds began growing its food and drink portfolio with the purchase of Del Monte in 1979 and the purchase of Hubline, a liquor company, in 1983. By the mid-80s, it was clear that the anti-smoking campaigns were working. The number of regular smokers in the U.S. fell from 42.4% in 1965 to a little over 30% by 1985. So in 1985, R.J. Reynolds buys Nabisco brands for $4.9 billion. Then, in 1988, Philip Morris, the maker of Marlboro and Parliament cigarettes, buys Kraft for $13.1 billion. And this is where packaged food really seems to go off the rails. A recent study by the University of Kansas compared the foods produced by Big Tobacco to those that were not between 1988 and 2001, a period of time where Big Tobacco essentially led the food industry. More specifically, they looked at the nutritional makeup of the 105 best-selling food products owned by Big Tobacco and compared them with 587 other food products sold at the same time. The analysis revealed that tobacco company foods were 29% more likely to be fat and sodium hyperpalatable and 80% more likely to be carbohydrate and sodium hyperpalatable. The researchers say that these findings suggest that Big Tobacco chemically engineered these foods to elicit cravings and light up the reward centers of our brains, which is something that happens when we consume other addictive substances, like recreational drugs. And what does hyperpalatable mean, you ask? The University of Kansas researchers define a hyperpalatable food as one that contains a specific mix of ingredients to enhance its palatability beyond what any one key ingredient could do naturally. Often these hyperpalatable foods contain an enticing mixture of fat, sugar, carbohydrates, and sodium. A great example of one of these hyperpalatable foods is this product. Lunchables came out in 1988 after Philip Morris acquired Kraft. And if you've ever had one of these, you can attest it's quite a potent combination of salt and fat. I personally was pretty addicted to these when I was little. Yeah, tastes pretty much the same. As if chemically tweaking our food wasn't enough, in 2015, the Center for Public Integrity found that several of the major food companies owned by Big Tobacco had ties with food scientists that helped them bypass certain safety testing standards. And they did this by having these food scientists deem some of the ingredients as generally recognized as safe. And many of these same food scientists had done similar work for Big Tobacco. So it would appear that the companies that for years marketed and sold one of the most addictive products that we know today, went ahead and bought companies that make food, something we have to consume to survive, and found a way to make it habit-forming. To be clear, this wasn't all Big Tobacco. Other food companies were clearly developing hyperpalatable foods as well. But the research implies that Big Tobacco was certainly one of the biggest players during this period. In 1999, R.J. Reynolds officially split its tobacco and food businesses. Chairman and chief executive at the time, Stephen F. Goldstone, said that this was to allow investors to invest in either a tobacco company or a food company. But according to the New York Times, he also acknowledged the tobacco taint that had hurt the stock performances of the company. In 2001, Philip Morris officially announced it was changing its name to the Altria Group in an effort to get away from the bad reputation that being the world's most famous cigarette maker had caused. And in 2007, Kraft split from Altria Group altogether. But the impact they had on American food lives on. Today, the chemically addictive, salty, fatty, and sweet foods that Big Tobacco helped to create make up 68% of the American food supply. While only 15% of Americans between ages 24 and 70 were considered obese in 1980, by 2000 that number was 30%. And by 2020, that number had reached 40%. And despite the growing evidence that many of these ingredients that make food addictive have been banned in several countries, including China, India, and much of Europe, the US still allows for them to be used. So the next time you find yourself unable to stop from polishing off a whole bag of chips, or you see a toddler have a meltdown in a grocery store over cookies, stop and think to yourself, is this just poor impulse control or a literal addiction?
Every time I watch that or similar videos, I know I feel a certain way. What are your first thoughts or feelings after watching that, Steve?
Honestly, my son, when he was born, my wife would process like baby food. So she'd get vegetables, she'd process them down to a baby food and feed him. Mm-hmm. And then he would also eat like whatever we had for dinner. We always had pretty healthy meals. He would eat whatever we didn't eat. He was like a garbage disposal. He would eat and eat and eat. And as life always does, it got really busy for us. And my wife one day bought like dino nuggets. Mm-hmm. And just the introduction of just dino nuggets, it went from where he would eat anything we gave him to he stopped eating everything besides dino nuggets.
Wow.
That's what it makes me think of. Like, and it's terrible. He doesn't eat anything. He eats all processed foods. So like even like I thought, well, when he goes to school, the school lunches will be at least an alternative. He'll have to try different things. It's not the case anymore. They give kids like Uncrustables and chocolate milk and something else at the school my kids attend. So as an alternative to the lunch they provide.
Hmm.
So he eats that every single day. He eats Hot Pockets. He eats um corn dogs. He eats like and we're giving it to him, but it makes me feel guilty. Like I know this is. I was just talking to him yesterday. And I was like, we're basically giving you a drug, and I feel really guilty about it. We've really got to work on you trying new foods. So the
That's
doctors,
good. Go ahead.
when we see his pediatrician, he just says it's a phase.
Okay.
But like I don't know if we're gonna get into this, but like I don't know if I trust the pharmaceutical or doctors to really guide us out of this.
Yeah. Speaking of health.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's all I was gonna say.
But well, that's good that you're addressing it with him because knowledge and understanding is the first way to cure any issue, right? If you have an understanding of what the problem is, your mind's going to start working on that. And that's where people need to be open with their kids. And to me, watching that video, I just feel so deceived.
Mm-hmm.
You live your whole life thinking you're doing something right, or okay, well, this can't be that bad for me.
Yeah.
Just having some of this, and then looking back and like, why did I eat that entire bag of Fritos?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, there's scientists getting paid massive amounts of money to alter that product to make it so that you can't stop eating it.
Yeah.
And that deception is so strong. And that's where it takes me back into the Bible verse about the evil one controls the world. I mean, you think about this, you've got these people working for these companies who are willing to harm, to basically slowly kill other human beings so that they can get paid big amounts of money.
Yeah. Well, you look at, I mean, it's like transitional, like with the tobacco, you turn a smoker into like lifelong smoker, well, they're going to most likely get cancer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to go see a doctor. So it's like I started to see the correlation between the food and the tobacco companies all together. Like they work together, and they basically create a system where you're always going to them. Like I don't have a reference point for this, but I just saw where um, kids who are obese right now and are getting diabetes at an early age, like younger than 18, they're putting them on Ozempic already.
Yeah. Yeah. That's now what they're recommending as the cure for obesity.
And I believe that's like you have to take that for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works. I would never touch that, but I'm not judging people who need it for like medical reasons either. I'm just that's a lot for your kid to be like, I would hate for my kids to have to go on that.
That's not a cure.
Right.
That's pushing money to another industry that's trying to control what we're doing. And it's, like you said, it's the tobacco industry. I never knew that. I recently learned that the tobacco companies bought all of the food companies. And once I heard that, it just all made so much more sense to me
Yeah.
because, growing up, I always looked at the tobacco industry and I'd always think to myself, like, why is this allowed at all?
Yeah.
Like, no one benefits from having the ability to smoke cigarettes. No one. Their mind might tell them they're benefiting from it because they're addicted to it and they would be angry. You can't control what I need, but that's an addiction telling them that.
It's the same thing with the food. Like
No, that's what I mean. Once the
yeah.
tobacco companies bought the food companies and they used their scientists to make the food do the same thing to us.
Yeah.
And just the rapid increase in obesity is alarming.
And I might have already said this, but I didn't realize it until just we started talking about this the last week when we were getting ready for this. But I didn't realize my son was addicted to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen him cry when we try and get him to try different foods.
Yep.
He won't eat a vegetable. He likes some meats, but it has to be, I don't know. He's really particular. So yeah, it's just it is an addiction.
And it's a very hard thing as a parent. And looking at our society, people can look at parents and have no empathy for them, especially people who don't have kids. Like, why would you let your kid have this? Similar to people can look at someone who's really obese and be like, man, they've got no self-control.
Yeah.
And it's horrible because the reality is the system is designed to put them in that place.
Yeah.
And instead of addressing the root cause, these same companies will then basically put out an advertising push to promote obesity. Big is beautiful and this and that. And I'm not saying anything bad about anyone who's obese, but I promise you, every single person who is obese would rather be healthy and in shape.
Yeah.
Because it is not better. It's putting harm in your daily life. You're living a life. It's like if I started putting a little bit of poison in my food every single day, and you saw me start to wither away and my teeth were getting bad and whatever, would you tell me that's a great thing?
Right.
We should keep putting poison in your food so that you can keep getting, skinnier and more brittle.
Yeah.
Would you tell me that was a good thing?
No, obviously not.
Absolutely not. And so it's the same thing for obesity. That's just companies paying money to give a positive spin on it so they can keep people addicted to their food and make more money off of them.
Yeah, we took a trip to California last year, and I was doing a keto diet, and I stuck through the keto diet for our trip. And on our way back, we stopped at a Mexican place, and I ordered a keto meal, like what I could eat keto wise. And you ordered this like amazing looking quesadilla, and I'm like, I guess you're like it was too much for you to eat, and you're like, you just have one of them. I'm like, okay, I can have one, that's fine. That took me off of like my diet completely because like just having that tortilla. And like, but I'm just relating it to people who like have they are obese or whatever. Like, I'm not the skinniest guy in the world, but I've fought it the same way you're describing it, and it's really confusing when you grow up in the '80s and you see the food pyramid, and they tell you how much carbs you're supposed to intake, and how it goes up, and it's like fat became enemy number one, and we start to realize like as we've gotten older and learned more, there's some really healthy fats, and there's some really unhealthy fats. But that's like even doing keto for me, like I didn't realize how I started becoming so confused because I didn't know what healthy was anymore. Because I don't think the keto diet's the best diet for you. But it could depend on person to person. But a low carb diet is probably healthy for most people.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And to reiterate, when I am talking about obesity, I feel for you if you're listening, and it's I want to say it's not your fault. Looking at the system and knowing now who's running it and what their intentions are, you've been deceived your whole life. And I just want to encourage anyone out there that knowledge is the first key to overcoming the issue. The more you can learn about what is healthy and what you can stay away from or what you can put in your body is the first key to overcoming that. And trying to put yourself in an emotional state where you can feel the truth that you are a healthy person inside and you were created perfectly by the Creator, by God Himself. Wonderfully and fearfully you were created. And you've been deceived by evil forces. But you can claim your health back and you can take your health back. And it just starts with believing that you can and learning what is healthy versus what is not healthy.
well, even in your Bible verse, it talks about not being a glutton or a drunkard. I remember watching The Chosen, and on different episodes, they'll be having a meal or they'll be eating like a snack, and they'll literally grab like a little piece of bread and some nuts, and that was like their dinner. And you're like, that's so contradictory to what we do. Like we think of America and like we have Thanksgiving and it's a huge banquet of food, and but like almost like we almost go to anything we do now if it's a restaurant and you have a Thanksgiving meal, if not bigger, when you just go down and eat at a restaurant or at home. Like we don't eat the way that our bodies are meant to operate. And like I'm learning that the hard way.
But then learning that the system is what is forcing that upon you. It's your mind can't comprehend why you're eating that much. Think about if I put, some broccoli and some hummus on a plate and some fresh grilled chicken, and let's just say that, right? And I gave it to you, and we put it out and we were eating it. Are you just going to keep forcing more down, or are you just going to eat some and be like, cool, I'm good?
Yeah, no, I would probably eat a lot less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now finding out that these companies are the ones who are putting all of these ingredients in our food that tricks our brain into saying more, 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 more. And
Yeah.
that's why we're doing it.
Or it's like the late night when you go to grab some ice cream and you pull out you're like, I'm just gonna have a spoonful. I'm not even gonna get a bowl. I'm just gonna have a spoonful. And then you have it right in front of you. You're like, I'll have one more. And then next thing you know, the carton's gone, and you're like, how did this happen?
Yeah, what just happened? I did not intend to do this. In my mind, I knew I shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And so it's unfair because the Bible tells us not to be gluttons.
Yeah.
But then we've got a whole force against us that's tricking us into being gluttons.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know, because you're kind of guiding us today. I don't know if you're going to touch on this when I think it might be in Matthew, where Jesus tells us not to worry about like what we're going to wear or what we eat or what we drink. And I was thinking about that as we were getting ready to talk about this stuff, because like I'm fully trusting in God for it all. And if we pray over our food, hopefully it does give us more nutritious things. But I don't think God also told us to go out and just not take care of our body like it's a temple. So it's a thin line, but it's really seeing how it's so much stacked up against us with me. Right now, I'm being the one that goes grocery shopping for my family. And I took over when about 3 or 4 years ago, and it was when the supermarkets started charging more. And we have a budget for how much we spend. So like we can buy whatever we want, but like we keep within budget. And I remember coming home with like a third of the groceries and like almost in like tears, like telling my wife, like, I don't know what to do. Like I can't keep the budget you were keeping. I felt like I was being inferior, but what it did lead to me doing was buying stuff that was on sale. And then it was stuff that was not good for our bodies.
Ultra processed.
Right. And so I would go shop for deals, and it was always this stuff that was shelf stable. And they'd last for a long time, or in the freezer section where I'm like, I knew it wasn't the best for us, but I'm like, it's not going to go bad.
This is what I can get.
Right. So I totally feel for people that even if you're trying to be healthy, everything's stacked up against us right now when it comes to that.
It is completely stacked against us, and that's it. It like hurts me inside because we shouldn't have to live that way. We were not created to have to, like, in order to be a healthy person right now, you have to put in a lot of work. You have to think about everything. You have to look at every single item you purchase to read what the ingredients are. Does this have seed oils in it? Oh, great. I probably shouldn't have that. How many ingredients are in this? Oh my gosh, there's 27 ingredients in this. I shouldn't buy that. But then, like you said, then you're going back to, oh man, I have to get groceries for a whole week for 4 of us. Right. And I only have $124 to spend or whatever. And how do you do it? And it's an unfair system. And so what do you do? Where do you go with that?
Do you have an answer?
I don't. I mean, I think that's the hard part is I don't.
I do think that's what God was telling us, or Jesus. I always go back and forth, like say Jesus, but I mean God as well, is telling us in that verse is not to worry. And I know that's not easy when you have kids, and like it is stressful. Like when you want to actually be healthy yourself, and you start to go look at like what it's like. You go to Sprouts or one of these like healthy food places, and you're like, dude, you're not walking out of there without spending Costco type budget, where you're like thinking, and I don't even know if that's actually all healthy as they make it appear to be. Because the meat we get nowadays, if it's all been fed from like corn and these things, these animals change. Molecular. Say it.
A monocular.
A monocular. They change on their meat changes because of what they eat. So
the animals grow monocles.
Yes. The talking doesn't talk so much when I'm on the podcast. I'm like, I have a hard time sometimes saying things that I'm like, normally I can say it, and I'm like, no problem. And then we get on the podcast, I'm like fumbling through words.
It's all good.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I mean,
Molecular.
molecular.
There
There
we
you
go.
go.
On a
There you go.
molecular level, their bodies start changing because like I think I shared the documentary with you. There's a farmer out in Arizona who does like goat cheese,
Hmm.
and he doesn't feed his cows or sorry his goats any of the normal feed that other people do, and when it's mass produced. And he often has people that have intolerances to things. He's like, people can have my cheese because I don't feed them the bad feed. And so it's just like, I mean, we have how many people do you not gluten free were gluten free when we were kids or peanut allergies?
Yeah, no one.
No one.
His food was different.
Right. And now we have, I mean, they can't even bring peanuts to school anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
Wheat was different.
yeah.
Everything was different.
And they even say in like Italy, like the pasta that people aren't there big over there because their flour is made differently.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, I would say thinking about it a little more, um, how can we win this battle? And I think a lot of it is people starting to stand up. And there are groups that are starting to stand up to these companies.
yeah,
And the more people that can support that and get on board with that, that's only going to help. Because eventually government employees, people running for office, if they start risking their ability to win positions in elections, they're going to get behind these movements and they're
yeah.
going to start to support them and start to actually put restrictions on what companies can give us. Like we're seeing with hopefully all these dyes are going to be out of our food soon because those affect people's brains. Those affect so much.
Yeah, my
Kids'
kids
behavior is so much different when you give them dyes versus not giving them dyes.
my kids we showed them how red dye 40 was made. Have you seen how it's made?
No.
It's with bugs.
Oh.
So they squash up all these bugs and it becomes this red paste and they cover the candy with it.
Oh, great.
So if you want your kids to stop eating Skittles, show them a video of that. Well, my kids won't eat the red Skittles anymore. They're like, they literally like pull them aside. Any red candy they won't eat now.
How are like? Does it show how the other ones are made?
I no, I've only saw the red dye 40, but I think RFK already had red dye 40 banned. But they
Is
can
it already out of things?
yeah, I think so. I think
Okay,
that
I
that's
thought
one
there
of the
was like
first
a
things they banned.
time limit for these companies to like transition from using.
I could be wrong. I remember it being like one of the first things that got changed.
Okay.
So, but I don't know.
Because I know we try to keep a good handle on that in our house with the dyes, and it's hard. So many things kids want, and the part that's annoying is they don't need them. They don't do anything for the flavor. They don't do anything to make it better. It's literally just for the look and the appeal of the product. So if you buy like Trader Joe's, dye-free cereal, like basically the same thing as Fruit Loops or whatever, but they just look a little less colored.
Artificial.
Yeah. Well, but they just aren't as bright and shiny.
Yeah.
And so it's like, so you're literally just putting this stuff that's terrible in our food to make it appear better to the kids.
That that was one of the first adult moves I made when I got a little older, when I started looking at like cereal. And I'm like, how can this be healthy for anybody? For the most part. Like I'm sure there's some cereals that are good for you, but like the sugary cereals.
Yeah.
And then you look at what cow's milk is and what it's for. And I'm not saying anything, I'm not judging milk drinkers. I'm just saying like it's really like sugar, really sugary milk with sugary food. And like that's how you start your day off with. I'm like, that's a terrible way to start your day off.
Yeah. But they added vitamins to it, Steve.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how they tricked the whole population into cereal's not that bad. Look at it. It's got vitamin A and vitamin
I
D.
believed it when I was a kid.
Of course. Everyone does. Because we believe that we should be able to trust the people who are in our government and in our world, that we should be able to trust the products that we buy. And we should be able to. That's the worst part. That's the world we're living in now, is you can't trust any of it.
Yeah.
But we should be able to. We were created to all work together and be able to trust each other. It's frustrating. But back to my second thing on how we can overcome this and fix it. And this one could be a little controversial because it's hard to wrap your mind around. But it's fully trusting in God that he will take care of you. And what I mean by that is, if you are spending a little more money to buy foods that you know are healthy, that don't contain all of these ingredients, it's fully, trusting God and talking to God about it and saying, this is what I'm trying to feed my family. This is what I'm trying to give my family. Provide for me financially, Lord. Make sure that I'm going to be able to do this, and
Yeah.
fully trusting, because God does support us. God takes care of us. And if that is something that you feel strongly about, taking care of our temple that
Yeah.
houses the Holy Spirit, I believe God will come through.
I for me, because I know it's going to be a uphill battle with my son. My daughter does a pretty good job of trying new things, and she really likes vegetables a lot, so it's not really as hard with her.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just trying to lead by example. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So trying to get, I'm
That's
gonna
all you
I'd be
can
like,
do.
what's that?
No, I just said that's all you can really do.
Right, because it's you're up against it. Like it's, and I think trusting God is actually like, I mean, it's we hear that all the time when I go to church about tithing, and people, the pastors are always like, I don't want to talk about this, but you're called by God to do it.
Yeah.
And if you're having a hard time with it, you really have a bad heart posture, and you need to really pray to God about what He can do with this money and how He'll work through your life. For me, I always was like reluctant as a tither. I did not want to give money to my church. And then I didn't know why. I just always felt like we need the money. And my wife was always pushing. She's like, God will take care of us if we do this. And I just said, fine, let's do it. See how it goes. And since we've been tithing, we have not. I'm not saying that our life's been perfect, but we haven't struggled in a way that my kids didn't have a meal. We never
Yeah.
missed our rent, our mortgage payment.
And
God's taking care of us.
that's the trusting that I'm talking about. God
Yeah,
will take care of you. And if he knows where your heart is, that you're using the resources that he's providing for you to try to improve your health, to try to, again, improve the temple that houses the Holy Spirit, he's going to make sure that you're okay if you
yeah,
fully trust and believe in him.
yeah.
Um, what percentage of processed foods do you think you guys eat?
Me and my wife or the kids,
Both.
because it's a totally different scenario. I mean, we eat granola bars.
Mm-hmm.
We do get crackers and chips occasionally. Like once every few months, we'll buy like chips or whatever. But our holiday parties or whatever, we have birthday parties, we have leftovers. So I would say percentage wise, including my son, when we go to the grocery store, I would say 60% is like real food, 40% is processed food.
Okay. I'd say that's probably better than a good portion of our country.
100%. I remember when I walk out and I check out at the grocery store and I'm around other people because I still try and go through the checkout instead of self like checkout because I want those cashiers to have a job. Um, I kind of compare what I'm buying to other people, and like I always think it's funny sometimes the cashier's like, like if I'm buying noodles and ground beef and sausage and tomato paste and these other tomatoes and onions, she's like, "You making lasagna?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm making lasagna." But they can kind of get what you're trying to make as you're
Mm-hmm.
checking out. But like I watch other people, like they'll literally have um nothing that is really considered to be food to me. Like it's all freezer meals. It's all from anything on the outside of the aisle, like it's none of it. It's all the inside of the aisles. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
not good.
Not good at all. Um, I know I kind of started on my health journey probably a few years before you did. And like I'm so fortunate, I'm so thankful because with my kids, I've always kind of taken a stance where I'll let them eat, whatever they want, but I've always talked to them about it since they were toddlers. Just like,
Hmm.
this is really unhealthy for you, and this is what's going to happen. And if you are doing this your whole life and eating it, that you're going to, end up a certain way. And it's actually really, really had a great impact on my kids because I tell them, like, you have the choice. I'm not going to tell you you cannot eat that, but I want you to think about, what this is going to do to your life and your health and how long you can possibly live. And it's great because I see them make those good choices for themselves now. They
Well, it's
might
not
not
even.
want to, and they still are drawn to, some of the chips, some of the cookies, some of that stuff. But it's good to see them like, okay, yeah, I'll have some mixed nuts instead.
Well,
Or,
I also think it's fair to acknowledge that it's not just about obesity. You can be a looking
oh,
fit
100%.
person and have diabetes. Like it's
Yeah.
not, it's the food is just, it's terrible for, like you mentioned, our bodies are temples. You're basically throwing terrible things into your temple, things you would not be honoring God with. And that's like, that's a loaded thing to say to somebody because like you don't want to think you're a bad person because you want to go have a cheeseburger or, I don't want to
Oh,
get into what's
absolutely
in McDonald's just was like exposed for a bunch of stuff they're putting in their food recently,
not.
and we won't
Surprise,
eat McDonald's ever
surprise.
again. Well,
Surprise.
I'm not surprised, but it was really bad. Have you ever
Yeah.
seen that video with a Big Mac where it's
No.
left out for like 7 years?
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. I haven't seen the video.
I'll try and find it online and I'll put it on here as we talk over. But literally, they leave the hamburger in place and don't touch it for like 7 years, and then they pull it back out and it looks exactly the same.
And
The
it's
bun, the meat, all the
think
stuff.
about what that's doing to your body.
Yeah,
Because so with all of these fast foods and all of the stuff that they put in it, like a burger from McDonald's, right? Versus you buying ground beef and, putting it together in a patty and grilling it yourself. Your body doesn't even recognize the ingredients that are in these fast food items. So
hmm
your body, it's just literally empty calories. So
yeah,
you eat this burger, you're not getting the protein from it. You're not getting the nutrients that you're supposed to get from the meat. You're just taking in the calories, taking in the fat, taking in the sodium, and then, you know, it's going out as waste, but you're hungry again faster than you're supposed to be because your body didn't even recognize the ingredients as real food.
yeah.
And you're just getting it's just garbage basically. You're taking in garbage at that point. And it
Are,
all
are we?
sorry, go ahead.
Were you going to mention fasting at all?
We will, yeah.
Okay, I'll leave it alone then.
Okay, I was just going to talk about so like you said, it's not just about obesity, and I was just using that as my example because
hmm
that's the one that is always forefront, but it's all about quality of life.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact when I was at my heaviest, I was up close to 250 pounds. This is when I was doing the cell phone thing, and I was just working 70, 80 hours a week, and my only comfort at the time was to just go to restaurants and just you notice yourself go from just having your meal to now you're getting an appetizer every
hmm
time. And you're just growing the amounts of food that you're eating. And I put on weight so fast. And I just noticed myself being in a bad mood.
Yeah.
My blood pressure was up. So my anxiety was higher. I was just like, I'd get a temper a lot faster than I normally did. Just simple things like bending down to tie my shoes. I'd be like uncomfortable. So now I'm buying shoes that don't have laces that I can slip on and just making decisions based around adjusting my lifestyle around what my body had become.
Yeah.
And that all of a sudden it just was disturbing one day. Like, this is not me. I'm normally a happy person who's energetic and I want to go out and go hiking, but now I
hmm
don't want to do any of those things.
Yeah. And that's like one of the things that I think that's important to mention is your mental health.
Hmm.
I don't think that's being talked about like too much when people bring this stuff up. Like it actually does psychologically start to mess with you. Like you can start to feel it when like if we talked about processed foods, if I go on a bender where like say we we go to Costco and I love Flamin' Hot Cheetos and they have like the variety pack where you can get like Funyuns and all these things and I'm like
Hmm.
I love those things and they're just a little mini bag and so I'll take a bag grab it eat it and then I'll be like yeah I could have one more and I'm this 24 pack supposed to last me in my head 2 months 3 months and it's gone in like 2 weeks, maybe at tops, because I'm
Yeah.
just smashing them. And I'm like, why did I even buy those? Like I know that it could be a treat, but it's up against you. But as I eat those foods, the processed stuff, even if I go to eat fast food or we're on vacation for a while and we're eating just like fast food place, or then a restaurant, and I'm not eating something I made at home, my
Hmm.
body starts telling me like it's a red flag. All the things you mentioned, like I can just start feeling my body just like this is not good. I'm telling you to stop. But if you
Hmm.
keep going, it does create that pattern in your brain where you're getting that reward system where you're like, okay, now I feel okay. Then I feel like crap. So you eat a little bit more and your brain goes, okay, I'm happy again. So it's a nasty cycle.
Yeah, it is. And again, we'll just keep mentioning it that it's stacked against us, so we have to take the precautions.
Yeah.
That was where I was going to lead into with how you mentioned fasting. I was going to
Hmm.
ask you what are some things that you think we can do to break the habits, to
So
break these addictions?
with me doing of the keto was one thing
Mhm.
that I tried, and it was like crazy to me because like for anyone who's knowledgeable at doing the keto diet, I I read about it. I'm like, okay, I'm doing this, and there's a thing called dirty keto, and dirty keto is like you're eating like you eat processed food, you eat whatever you want, but you just keep your carbs down. And I smashed cheese and beef jerky, and I was eating whatever I wanted the entire time at the beginning. And what I think you have to try something for 21 days for it to become a habit. I don't know if that's exact at 22 days, 20, whatever, 21 days. You have to keep doing something for so long until it actually becomes your body just goes, okay, we can do this.
Mhm.
And I did keto for like 3 months and I lost like 45 pounds. I looked good.
Yeah.
I felt really good physically, like looking, but my brain wasn't loving me. Like it was a lot for my body to handle. But I think you can, if you like learn, like Jesus talks about fasting, God mentions it as a way to honor God. Um, I'm not suggesting you fast for 22 days, but you're capable of it.
Yeah.
But if you can break a habit by fasting for 3 days and then go into something where you're eating healthy, um, stick to vegetables and not processed foods, I think that's the way to go. Just to like, you have to have a fast to cleanse your body and then start fresh.
Yeah. I would agree. I think and I've done the keto a little bit. I'd never really stuck to it. It ended up always turning into just low carb for me, which
Hmm.
is kind of how I try to just stick to eat now in general. But the fasting, I mean, number one, it's biblical.
Hmm.
Jesus doesn't say if you fast, he says when you fast.
Yeah.
And fasting is the quickest and best way to heal our bodies. And so when you fast, your systems, internal systems start to heal themselves. It's a process called autophagy.
Hmm. It's
And
amazing.
it's amazing.
Cure
And
cancer.
yeah, you can do anything. That's literally our medical system was meant to be fasting. Like
Our
that's
bodies
how we
are
heal our bodies.
temples. Like they
They were
literally heal
created to
themselves.
heal themselves, and that's what fasting does. And that's through the process of autophagy, and it raises your human growth hormone. It raises all of the good things in your body. And so to me, that's what I would recommend to anybody. I actually have a friend who I was talking to him a couple months ago, and he actually I'll have two stories. So um, he had some serious injuries to his back, and he's got nerve damage, and through that he became way less active,
Hmm.
obviously because he's in pain with everything he does. But when you're becoming less active, and then you start adding in how your eating changes and start putting on weight, that just makes that issue even worse
Hmm.
because your body's now inflamed, and it's dealing with inflammation, and it's trying to fight that inflammation at the same time of trying to heal the injury. Anyways, I recommended fasting to him, and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try it. And he went and he did, just a I think a 36-hour fast to start, and he loved it. And then he like did a 3-day fast, and he's been doing this now. And I think I recommend the exact same thing. If you can start even with one day
Hmm.
and then work your way up, and then change it from doing a 1-day fast or a 3-day fast into intermittent fasting,
Yeah.
and just eating from noon to 8 p.m. That's your only window that you can consume calories. Your body will begin to heal itself, and what it also does is it loses its addiction to the sugars and to the things that are terrible for us, and you actually start to crave real food during that process.
That's
But it's
that's
amazing. Anyone you recommend it to, you see it. The chiropractor I go to, she was talking to me about her health, even though she's the doctor. And
yeah.
I was like, "Have you tried fasting?" And I come back in a month later to get my back adjusted, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I did the fasting. It has been amazing. It's changing
Yeah.
my life. Like I feel so much better. I lost weight so quickly. My inflammation went down. Like it's so cool."
I've only done it for 2 days. That's as far as I've gotten
Yeah.
for a fast. How as long as what's the most you fasted for?
Actually 4 days. I was planning
Wow.
on doing 7 days, but if you're going to do a longer than 3-day fast, you truly have to be able to take it easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
didn't have that luxury. I was coaching sports, working in the
Yep.
restaurants, all that. And by day 4, I was doing great as far as I wasn't hungry. My mind was in the right place. I just started getting like lightheaded,
Yeah.
and my legs were starting to feel like cement. And
It's
so
to be expected. You're not putting anything in your body. You should be taking it easy for sure.
yep.
That's one good thing about keto. Like I said, it wasn't like great for me mentally because it made my body run in a different way because you're
Mhm.
burning your fat as food.
Yeah.
And so you're changing the way your body operates. For me, it kind of made me a little bit I feel like I was drinking coffee all day long.
Mhm.
And I'm sure it wasn't all bad though, because like I did learn the intermittent fasting. I don't eat breakfast. And just recently of us talking about this stuff, like I think God's working through this with our conversations too. Because first it came up in our Bible study, and then me and you were talking personally, and I was just mentioning that I'm trying to start to work out because I'm always sore. And you were like, Steve, you really need to focus on what you're eating. I'm telling you right now, you can change everything. Like go for a walk. And so I'm like, I'm not stopping exercising. I'm doing like old man exercises. So I'm
Which
just
is
trying to get
great.
in
Just
shape.
just
Yeah.
moving is fine.
Yeah.
Your body composition is 90% the food, 10%
But
the exercise.
with me not watching new content, I was like, I'm going to explore this a little bit more, even though I'm probably relearning things that we've already talked about because you've shown me some of this stuff from a long time ago that you kind of have to remind yourself because you'll forget and you'll start eating this crap food again.
Mhm.
And it just becomes, it is an addiction. Like you literally will get right back into it. But one thing I remember also people saying that you shouldn't take vitamins. And that was I pushed by like doctors and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's complete like baloney. Like you can totally take vitamins; they're great for you. And I just probably bought $200 worth of vitamins, and I'm like, every morning I have this huge chunk of vitamins in my hands. Now I'm just like, that's my breakfast, and I get through to dinner. I'm just gonna have dinner, and that's it.
Yeah. Supplements and vitamins are good. I don't care what any of these I take it in the same grain of salt as these food industries tricking us. The
Yeah,
medical industry tricks us just as much. And oh, they're starting to notice in a study that people who take vitamins are actually going to the doctor less. Let's tell
yeah,
them vitamins are bad. You know what I
yeah.
mean? That's the way I take that. One little tip I actually wanted to add before we got off of fasting is I just watched something on this the other day, and I haven't. This is really recent, so I haven't had a chance to try it. But um, when you take when you have olive oil or coconut oil, it does not break your fast. So you can have oils and it won't break your fast. And actually, now research is showing when you take olive oil, a good extra virgin olive oil, preferably a single source origin, so meaning it only came from one country, not these like mix of Mediterranean ones. It's one country olive oil. It actually doubles the autophagy in your body. And so
Wow.
you have to be careful. You're not just going to down olive oil all day. But if you can stick to like 600 calories, 700 calories or less a day of the olive oil, number one, it makes the fast easier because you're actually taking in something that your brain is using
Bo-
to, what's
Bone
that?
broth also is what bone broth I've heard also is like you can not break a fast by drinking bone broth.
Yeah, that one helps. It gives you a little protein. It
Right,
depends on what kind of fast you're going for.
right.
But fasting in general, just do it. I just thought this was interesting about the oil because next time I fast, I'm 100% going to try that because number one, it's making the autophagy even better. That's
Yeah,
amazing. But number two is having that little something would make it just so much easier to get through.
yeah,
And I've done that because I'll drink black coffee when I fast and I'll put a little bit of oil in the coffee just to give it that texture a little bit
yeah,
rather than just, plain because I like cream in my coffee. And it does help, but I never realized that was actually a good thing to do. I just knew it wouldn't break the fast. So
yeah.
that was interesting to me. That's just a tip for anyone out there who might be thinking about fasting.
Were you gonna move on to something else right now? I thought you said this last about fasting. I can keep talking about this for a while because I'm like just I didn't know if we'd have a lot to talk about with this, but I guess it's a more interesting topic to me than I thought it would be because just doubling down on the keto thing, like I could not believe eating that crap food that I was eating because I know I was eating bacon, I was eating beef jerky, all these things. I was losing weight so fast in a way that I've never seen before, and
I
I just
remember
was
when you
like,
did.
yeah, it just
I
broke
didn't
my
see you
brain.
for like 2 months, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, it broke my brain that I'm like I could not believe eating this way was going to make me physically look better.
Hmm.
And I think that if I would have incorporated and done keto probably the right way, where you're eating a lot of vegetables instead of the processed foods, it would have been even better for me.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I think the way you were doing the keto, and that is the intended way of just the fats with the certain amount of protein and the minimal amount of carbs. I think it's an amazing diet for short term.
mhm,
Like you said, like you did it for what, about 2 months, three
yeah,
months? I think that's about the perfect length. You lost the weight, you got to where you wanted to be, and from there to try to transition into just a balanced eating with lower carbohydrates. And because mentally, like you said, I don't think keto is something many people could do for the long term. And I don't
yeah,
even know health wise how good that would be.
yeah. And I think the thing that I started learning was because like obviously I was less hungry, and you
Hmm.
started realizing how much your body doesn't need,
Hmm.
and how snacking and eating food can be a hobby even for some people. Like going out to a restaurant. I love going out to restaurants if it's a good restaurant, But I know that when, like I mentioned on vacation, if we do, even if it's really nice restaurants for even a weekend, I can just feel it on my body in a way that's like so much different than when I regulate things at home but I'll eat breakfast sometimes when I'm on vacation. I don't ever eat breakfast, but we're out, we're doing things like I'll eat breakfast with everybody else. And then by the time it's lunch, you're like, okay, I'll eat lunch with everyone else is doing it. And that's becomes like, it's good.
Hmm.
So yeah, I get it. I don't think I just want everyone to know, like you said that you've been overweight. I've been overweight. I think my biggest I got was 215, but I'm also like 5'8", and you're 5'11",
Six.
5'6",
No, 6 foot.
5'6". I didn't know that. Okay. I was giving you a few inches. Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, but so you carried a lot different. Your 250 is a lot different than my 215. But I just remember like being like, I can't live my life like this. And that was a while ago. I don't think you saw me when I was that big either. So
No, I don't remember you being that big.
yeah, I didn't see you either. So
Yeah, mine was when I was living in Utah and then just getting back to Arizona. I hadn't seen you in a long time. But it just makes you feel different on a day-to-day basis. Your energy levels are lower. You can just feel your body's fighting itself. And it's just, I don't know, man.
well, you can feel
Health
your
to
body
me.
working against you.
Yeah.
Like you can feel like the weight on you where like you can't move the way you used to move, even if it's not like being athletic.
Hmm.
Like you mentioned tying your shoes. That becomes a big deal when you can't do it.
Yep.
I was good. I was thinking about this too when you're talking about tricks and stuff like that. I remember when we joined the Marine Corps and we'd go to the bathroom and you'd be in a urinal and you'd look straight ahead and they had a color chart and they tell you like if your urine was like a dark color, you need to drink so many canteens of water to get caught up to be clear. And your goal was to
Hmm.
be clear at all the times. And I didn't think much of it like at the time. I just knew that's what I had to do. But then I've like started living my life that way. Where if I'm not drinking enough water, so I drink water all the time. I live in Arizona too, so it's really important to drink water here too. But I do think that filling yourself up with water is the way to go versus like snacking or
Yeah.
like people who drink like I don't understand people who don't drink water at all because I know people like that they literally drink soda all the time. And the two people I know that do it, they have diabetes now. This diet or the sugar free, whatever the zeros,
Hmm.
they have health problems.
Yeah, we weren't we weren't made to ingest that stuff all day,
Right.
right? I mean, there was water and there was raw milk, and that's about it. When you brought up milk earlier, I was going to say raw milk is actually
Yeah.
amazing. It's just what they've done with the homogenization and the processing of our milk. It's completely changed what milk is and what it was intended to do for our body.
Right.
I mean, that's why the Bible even says it was a land of milk and honey. And that was something I wanted to actually get into is in the Bible, just certain things that it talks about that are health foods that people don't even realize. Honey is a major health food, like to consume honey. Um, there's a bread out there. I think it's Ezekiel, and there might be some other brands, but it's a sprouted grain bread, and it's a whole different way of consuming your bread because it's not processed and made in the same way. It's made with sprouted grains, and basically, it's a recipe that they say is from biblical times.
Hmm.
And so trying to get back to eating, the way that we were intended to eat and just a more natural form of eating is really the way to go.
Yeah.
And then you brought up supplements and vitamins earlier. Like, I know one that I've taken for 15 years now daily is wheatgrass.
Yeah.
And I used to actually, when I lived in San Diego, it was pretty cool. They would deliver me a pallet of wheatgrass. Some company did it to restaurants, and I called them, and they said they would bring one to my house each week. And so I would actually squeeze, like press the wheatgrass and have
Yeah.
fresh wheatgrass juice every day. But over time, I've just switched to these little wheatgrass like pills. Anyways, it is amazing for you. Um, I'm 46 years old now. I barely have any gray hair whatsoever because that's one of the benefits of it. They say 1 ounce of wheatgrass is equivalent to eating 2 pounds of green vegetables daily.
Wow.
And so for your body, when I go to donate blood, I've had multiple times where the person's like, "Oh my gosh, the color of your blood is perfect. Like we never see blood that looks as rich as this." And I know it's the wheatgrass. It's
Yeah.
100% the wheatgrass. So that's one I definitely recommend to people. Do you have anything that you would recommend?
I mean, the vitamins is what I've been doing recently, and I think it's like I always like my wife got Young Living
Hmm.
products, and she was like all about it, and she's got like a membership where she's like I don't know the details, but she gets like she can sell to other people or whatnot. And so she spent a lot of money on all this stuff. But as time has progressed and she's starting to like all these things that she was said, I'd make fun of her like 10 years ago for buying all this stuff. And now I'm like, you were absolutely right about all of it.
I should have started when you did.
Young Living's got a lot of good products that she uses for our kids where like it's oil based and like all natural. So like if she just has to look up remedies, so if there's something wrong with the kids, she'll pull something together, or if like something's happening, she's anything she can find that she can use them for. Um, I thought it was placebo personally at first, and then I started to take some of the supplements she's been getting from that recently because she had stuff in the cupboard that I started taking some of the stuff she had too, and it's got some of the stuff you talked about like wheatgrass in it. It's like
Hmm.
super greens, like things like that. And the first few days I started taking these stuff, I didn't feel like it didn't feel like
Oh,
anything's doing anything.
it's gonna take
Right,
weeks, if not months.
right. But it's like realizing that your body it needs to every time you eat something healthy, you're counteracting all the vitamins you took.
Hmm.
So you gotta like keep in mind, you're like, if I'm buying all these vitamins, you gotta make sure you're not just eating crap after that. So,
Yeah,
um, I would just open up to the more organics. Like that's what I'm trying to do.
yeah. I know some other good ones that are also inexpensive. I want to try to recommend things that people can hopefully afford. But turmeric, you can find turmeric pills very cheap, and that one fights inflammation in your body, does a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Cinnamon is actually great. Spirulina, um,
Cocoa.
Irish sea moss
I heard
is a really
cocoa.
good
Like I
one.
just was watching that documentary and cocoa, like supplements. It's got
Yeah.
like some things that you can only find in cocoa, but you won't get it from eating chocolate because when they bake it, it loses all nutritional value.
Hmm.
But when it's in a powder form, like before it's been processed, it's supposed to be really good for you.
Hmm. I
I'll
have
let
not.
you know. I feel really good today. Like taking the vitamins. This is my fourth or fifth day doing it all, and like I'm starting to feel different. I'm starting to feel
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
Starting to feel some natural energy
yeah, and
coming
just
through.
trying to stay away from anything processed too. I'm like after you get on a little kick and you're like, okay, I'm gonna stay away from anything. But even I had a hamburger the other day at a restaurant, and it still felt a little bit different too. Because like it's just your body doesn't want to process things as easily like
Hmm.
meat. It takes a while to do it, but you can feel it when you eat something like a big meat meal, and you're like go to bed and you're like, I can still feel my body trying to get rid of this thing. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Um,
important to eat some vegetables, I suppose.
Yes, they say so. No. Another big one that wasn't in the video, but talking about those tobacco companies buying the food companies. But something I learned is they started replacing all the oils in our food with seed oils. And this is something that's kind of new to me. I'd heard of it and I'd never really looked into it, but it actually makes so much sense to me now why I've had certain issues throughout my life. But these seed oils are terrible. They're actually were originally created to be lubricants for engines.
Yep.
They were never meant to be consumed by humans. And technically, they're safe because they're not going to kill you right away. right? But over time, that's what's causing this inflammation in our body. And I think a lot of people don't understand that fat isn't just like you're growing more fat. A lot of it is just inflaming the cells, so they're bigger and bigger. You don't have more fat cells. You have the same amount of fat cells, and they just inflame and they grow. And that's one of the things that these seed oils do,
That's
which inflammation in our body is horrible for us.
It's amazing. Like you were just talking about, you getting your blood drawn, and they talk about they've seen the difference in your blood and relating it to Christ. Like they talk about how much power was in his blood being shed. And like I mean that's the biggest thing is those seed oils attack your blood, doesn't it? Like it goes into your attacks like what's in your blood and the way how it repairs itself.
I don't know that personally, but that wouldn't surprise me
I
at
thought
all.
that's what I remember. Well, that's a lot of the things that do happen. I don't know if it's specifically
Okay.
with the oils, but yeah, it's if you look at anything that comes in a package, like it happened in World War II from watching and learning about this stuff. We didn't have any of these problems till World War II, and when our country was starting to help feed
You're
the
right.
world,
Mhm.
we had to start packaging things to like have it be more shelf stable.
Yeah, it started
And
off
so,
well intended.
right. And once they learned they can actually make things shelf stable, then they started doing it to everything. And
Hmm.
it created this like just it just got worse and worse.
Like we saw, it literally all correlates to when these dirty companies who were already killing people through tobacco and realized that was going to catch up to them. They wanted to be a step ahead, so they decided to buy the food companies and kill us that way for their
It's the
monetary gain.
I'm not trying to get off topic,
Yep.
but I'm going to bring up like the screen thing. With me
Hmm.
getting time off of screens, and I'm actually diving into this right now. It's like it almost seems very congruent to me. Like they seem like they go hand in hand. Like the internet when we started off, it was like kind of this. I didn't even care about it. Like you could shop on there, I guess. You could chat with people. That was kind of cool. You could send an email, so you didn't have to wait for mail. That was cool. But then as you started to see how it became commercialized and how the governments stepped in and started doing things without even telling us about it, I feel like the food and the internet thing is the same thing. Like you got to like really step away from all of it and not be controlled by it.
And it all goes back to, and I know I bring this up almost every episode, but it all goes back to who controls the world, the evil
Right.
one. And he doesn't do it blatantly. He does it through very, very minor things that appear to be good, even initially. And then he can take what appears to be good and he can slowly, slowly, slowly use it against us
Well, for
for
context, Josh, I
kill,
think
steal, and destroy.
for
What?
context, like I really, we talked about this last time we filmed, and I remember you were saying to me like, you just picture the devil with a pitchfork and like this evil guy, and I'm like, that's not the truth.
No.
But and I kind of defended myself saying like I've always believed that God was more powerful. But I reflected on it as we talked because you think about how Jesus was tempted by the devil. He didn't
Hmm.
fall to temptation, but he first was like tempting him with bread. He's like, here, make this stone into bread. Tells him to jump off of the temple. All these different things. These little things. He's like, I'll give you this world. So
Hmm.
you have complete validity in your statement saying like he runs this world.
The Bible tells us.
Right. And so I always like I have to remind myself. So you're not wrong. I don't think he's this little guy with horns and a pitchfork.
I was exaggerating when I
I
said
got you.
that, but I know when I bring it up, I see the way like your eyes look sometimes like, yeah. But when you really think about it, I mean, Lucifer was considered to be the most beautiful of all of the angels. And so think about when you're dealing with, just, you know, you're in a conversation just with this beautiful woman and how easy it is for that woman to like deceive you. She could say anything and you're just like, okay. And the same thing for a girl seeing a beautiful man and it just easily can be swayed in changing our thinking based on that person's beauty. And that's who Lucifer was.
But to get back to your point though, there does seem like this big, huge plan that's working against humanity. And I'm with you. I agree with that. I can see it just just seeing that when that video we watched earlier when she's saying like countries are banning these things, but they won't do it in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the medical system in the United States, we pay for most of the rest of the world's medical stuff. It's
Yeah,
it's a big Ponzi scheme.
the whole thing. Because we're only talking about physical health from food today, right? But we can talk about mental health. We can talk about the actual medical industry, and all of it works together. So you've got the tobacco companies, about the food companies who turned our food into addictive substances who are horrible for us, which then will lead us into the medical system. And the medical system, instead of healing, gives you things that mask symptoms, but also can create side effects that lead to needing new medication. So now they can keep you as a lifetime customer by masking symptoms, but then adding new symptoms that they can give you another medication for, and keeping that entire thing going until you might need a surgery. So that's just another aspect of the medical industry, which then will lead into lawyers having malpractice lawsuits, which will then lead, and it's just our entire world goes in this circle that is run by greed and money and evil.
To your point, that's one of the things I was learning about with one of the reasons I started taking the vitamins the way I was talking about is because one of the things I was being informed on was that you can get on a prescription and it will help you with one symptom, and it will only attack one symptom. But you start taking these vitamins that are like from nature, and it does multiple things to help your body at one time, and it's regenerative, where you're masking something with a pill from a prescription, where our bodies are meant to really come back to its full state of being healthy, and the fasting is probably gonna be the best way of doing that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of going to see the doctor after COVID, all this stuff. I'm not trying to go down the deep end, but like I would prefer to like trust that like I'm going to take care of my body more than I need to go see a doctor. Unless it's I'm not saying don't go see a doctor if you got something
For
really
sure.
wrong.
For
But
sure. And if a doctor is listening, I think you're doing a great thing, a noble job. I think the system is rigged. I don't think anything wrong with going to the doctor. I don't think anything wrong about doctors themselves. I think that the system is rigged and the medical system doesn't necessarily always heal us.
Well, I imagine that it's like the same thing as owning a restaurant where you're serving food that's good for people versus people that don't care at all and are serving like McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
Those people, I mean, I don't think the people who work at McDonald's are completely evil the same way doctors, but like after you do so things for so long, the doctors are like, I could tell you to exercise and eat right, but you're not going to do it. So I'll give you a pill.
Yeah.
So, at least he can sleep better at night knowing he tried to do something to help you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. And that's what he's trained to do. That's what his training led that position to do.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, as a whole, I don't think there's a whole lot more to cover today. We've talked about kind of all of it. To me, more than anything, it's just our health is everything.
Yeah.
It's everything. It's how we interact with people on a day-to-day basis. It's our confidence. It's our energy. It's our life. Then we only have this one life to live here in this earth. We only have this one body. And I think people look at health and health foods as like it's supposed to be some magical thing. I eat something called a superfood that should make me super healthy, but that's not how it works. Eating healthy is going to keep your body where it was meant to be. Eating unhealthy puts it on a downward slope. So eating healthy isn't going to make you go up. It's going to keep you where you were meant to be. And that's something that I think people need to transition their minds. When you start eating healthy, it's not some magic. It's reversing the effects of all the damage that we've done to ourselves. And over time, you will gain more energy and you will gain a clearer mind, and you will have a more stable presence and energy level. And that's the key to it, I think.
Well, I think you said it from the beginning, just trust God. Like you said, it might be a little controversial, but I think that was pretty, like, from the get-go. Like, we could have turned this videotape off right there and be like, we're done. Like, trust God and you're good.
Yeah. And honestly, just remember, and so if anyone is listening and they're having health problems, they're having weight problems, they're having any of that stuff, I just want to encourage you. Remember, you were created perfect by God, who is perfection. You were created to be perfect, and you still are perfect inside. In God's eyes, you are still perfect. But this body, this temple that we use to house the spirit, it's the only one we have. And it's up to us to do our best, whether the system is rigged or not. It's up to us to do our best to maintain this temple to our highest level. And so think about that on a daily basis. Remember that you are perfect and that you are perfect in God's eyes, but we have to do our jobs of taking care of this temple.
Well said. Well, that being said, I love you guys, and I hope you guys are having a great Christmas season.
Yeah, we're 13 days away from Christmas. It's pretty quick. It's amazing how fast time's going.
Yeah.
This whole month has already flown by. But yeah, we'll have another episode or two before Christmas. But you know, stay positive and keep your eyes fixed on God, because I know this season is stressful and there's a lot going on, and that's kind of why we wanted to talk about health right now, because over the next 2 weeks are where all the holiday parties and all the cookies and all the stuff comes, and it's okay to partake and enjoy some of it, but just think about what you're doing.
Go get some eggnog.
Yeah, drink a gallon of eggnog. Why not? No.
All right. I'll see you guys next time.
All right, bye guys.